Hi, everyone, and welcome to day three of our class. And I just wanted to start with first, I'm going to start with just kind of explaining what you all are responsible um, for today, day three. But then I also want to talk about a little bit of some changes to some content to maybe help clarify some things. So, first, let me start with sharing my screen and showing you. So for day three, the focus of day three is understanding transfer, understanding the academic goals and transfer. So, I have a lot of information here on the community college eligibility requirements, the requirements as an athlete to play at the next level. I want you all to watch the videos that I post in each category this week because this information is important. But as a student athlete, to be able to play at Glendale College, you have certain eligibility requirements that you have to meet in order to play your 2 seasons of your sport. And if depending on what um, type of institution you transfer to, you also have eligibility requirements depending on what school you transfer to. So if you transfer to an NCAA Division I school versus a Division II school versus a Division III school versus an NAIA school, the eligibility requirements are a little bit different. So I kind of go through them this week. And there's a lot here. So there's definitely, as a student athlete, when you first come and meet with an athletic counselor, one of the first questions I ask you is, do you think you want to compete in your sport at the next level? And that's important to think about. You typically the plan is to work toward an associate degree, regardless of what you're doing for maybe most students. But sometimes a lot of students don't know yet. They're coming here and like, hey, maybe I want to play at the next level, maybe I don't. And so as a counselor, I try to plan for all options. But yeah, so this week we have I also talk about the requirements to transfer just as a regular student. So if you came here and then decided I want to transfer to a 4-year and just focus on school, we'll talk about those requirements. Again, this is an overview. You're going to meet with your counselor every semester, and that's something that we will do with you is help keep track of those types of things. But it's good for you to have a little bit of information. So first of all, just wanted to share with you, you have two things that you're responsible for this week. One is the quiz on athletic eligibility and transferring. Don't stress out about the quiz. There's no time limit. There's multiple attempts. I think I have 3 attempts on here. And the questions are all geared toward the eligibility requirements that I talk about in the beginning of the module. And then the other thing you have that you're responsible for today for for day three, is this discussion post on thinking about transferring. So this is where I have you talk about if you do want to transfer, what you want to transfer and focus on. So I wanted to start with kind of explaining that. And then I also thought it was necessary. When I created the content for my class, over the last couple of months, I put my class together. Because of my videos and stuff and the content that I do this summer, and then I can focus mostly on grading in these little videos. And I don't know if anyone's aware, but the NCAA just made a pretty major change to their eligibility requirements. And so I wanted to this is at the Division I level, by the way. And so, you will see the content that I talk about. And the content that I talk about is based on the eligibility requirements that have always been in place. But there's a reason why. First of all, I already created the content, but also I wanted to share this little tidbit with you. So let me share my screen. So this tells you who the new eligibility rules apply to. So for you are all our incoming student athletes starting in fall 2026. So it says here, student athletes, prospects who initially enroll full-time at any college or university. Full-time is important to be aware of. You all are taking a Promise Plus class. Most of the students, I'd say probably everyone in this class is planning to enroll full-time in the fall. Again, you can talk more about your counselor with that to see if that makes sense, but part of Promise Plus kind of requires you to enroll full-time. So it says athletes who initially enroll full-time at any college or university during the 26-27 year, which this would be you. It says either the previous rules or the new age-based model you can follow, and you get to kind of pick which one works to your benefit. Um, I talked about it this today and all the content, but basically, previously, as soon as you enrolled, in the old rules, as soon as you enrolled in the full, as a full-time student, that triggered a 5-year clock, and you had that 5 years to play for. Um, Now the rules have changed a little bit, and I want to kind of summarize what is changing. So the main change is the new eligibility model allows for an extra year of eligibility. So instead of 4 years, you have 5 years to play, but it's a continuous 5-year eligibility period once you enroll as a full-time student, which for you all would be this fall. And so this continuous kind of 5-year eligibility period. Um, and that is not like that pretty much is not like a clock. It doesn't stop. Like previously, there was like a clock that could maybe stop. There's lots of different rules, but the main thing to be aware of with the new rule is that it's a 5-year eligibility period that starts as soon as you enroll full time. As a college student. Or there's also like an age factor to it, but I'm not going to kind of go over that because most of you probably are not older than like 19 or whatever. But basically that new rule applies only to the Division 1 level. So I just kind of wanted you to be aware of that. What does this matter for you? If any of you want to compete at a Division 1 school after GCC, you probably could have the option to play 3 years after GCC. If you played 2 years, you could play 3 years there. Before, there used to be a red shirt option. So you had 5 years to play 4, and there was a red shirt option where like if academically you needed it, or your physical health, feel like you had an injury or whatever, that red shirt was an option. This is no longer an option with the 5-year model. So you basically have 5 years to play 5, but if you get hurt, that's going to take away one of your years where it didn't really before. Again, I don't really want to stress you out about the nuances because there's a lot of nuances to this rule, and the rule just changed. So there will be more clarification in the next couple months coming out about this. But the most important thing for you all to be aware of is you all are starting as full-time students this fall. You get to pick. You're kind of in a good situation where you can pick which eligibility rules work out to your benefit. But most importantly for you at this point is to just think, okay, I'm coming to GCC. Let me make sure academically I do well while I'm here and enjoy my sport. And then, as you meet with your athletic counselor and you get recruited, we can go through all of this with you. I hope that helps answer some questions. But again, I wanted to make sure y'all were aware of that, because as you're going through the eligibility rules, there are some changes and you can choose if you want to follow the new rules. But again, that's not something we would decide on for 2 years. All right, anyways, I hope y'all have a wonderful day 3. And if you have any questions, let me know.